Hi, I'm Gayla. After 20 years of climbing the corporate ladder, I took the leap and started my own business to pursue my dream of creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle. Having the freedom to work from practically anywhere is such a cool feeling. You're in the right place if you're looking for ideas and inspiration to start and grow your own online business. Every week in this podcast, you'll receive practical ideas, hints, tips, and tricks to help you grow your online business where you can leverage your time and you can accomplish more. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of The Gayla Scrivener Show. I am so glad you're here. I've been bringing on different guests here and there because I want you to be introduced to a whole slew of interesting and wonderful small business owners. They may not necessarily have an online business, or they have started an online business, or they have a blend of both. And I think that it's very interesting. I love meeting new small business owners and getting to know them, seeing how they grow their business and getting different perspectives, because there is so much to learn out there. There's so much that we had no idea that, goodness, 10 years ago, if you would have asked me if I could work from anywhere, I would have said you were crazy. And now I am in the midst of so many entrepreneurs that are doing just that. They are creating a lifestyle where they can work from anywhere or just create the lifestyle they desire by creating a business, and they use online methods to be able to grow and scale their business. And so that's why I invited Mary Howard to this week's show. Mary is a registered nurse who is passionate in helping keep you and your body healthy so that you can live your life to its fullest. In today's conversation with Mary, she and I get into discussing our thoughts when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle. She is a wealth of information. After all, being and staying healthy has a lot to do with our success in business and in life in general. Our conversation also goes into tapping into Nurse Mary's business growing experience, and she shares what things worked for her and what tactics didn't work well when it came to marketing her health and wellness business. And we scratch the surface of talking about how to nurture communication with your contacts using email. So I'm not going to delay any further. We're going to dive right into the interview. Welcome, Mary. I am so glad that you're on the show today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Before we go too far and we get into the interview, I would love for you to share with my listeners a little bit about yourself. Who's Mary Howard?
Well, Mary Howard, right now I'm kind of turning myself into Ask Nurse Mary a little bit. That's what I'm collecting people along that path. I'm a registered nurse, and I started out writing health articles, and somehow along the way that turned into building websites. And so I've been an entrepreneur and a small business owner for a long time. Even that, I grew up on a farm, so my dad was self-employed as well. So it's kind of in the blood. I have worked in hospitals, home health, and one of the things I did a lot of was school nursing. What I saw then was both ends of the life spectrum. I saw older folks and I saw young people. And in the older folks, what I did as a home health nurse is we would go in and maybe set up their medications for the week. And what I would see is after a person was on more than 3 medications, now we were medicating for side effects. And that really, really bothered me. Then I went into the schools while my kids were in school. And over the series of, probably 6 to 8 years of just being a substitute nurse, which I floated from 4 different school buildings, so all the different ages, we went from seeing like maybe 1 diabetic in the district to 1 per school building or 2 per school building. So we went from 1 to 10 in that 8-year span. And it bothered me. We went from never having one EpiPen at each building to 4 or 5 students per building having their own EpiPen because there's so many allergies going on. And so I felt like there has to be a better way. I've been very passionate about natural health, helping people finding solutions through eating healthier, moving more, and taking a supplement before they have to go to a medication. Definitely we need doctors and we do need medications, but I feel like there's a phase, if we would listen to our bodies, maybe we wouldn't need as many medications and as many interventions.
How long have you been a registered nurse? I'm not
Oh
trying to
boy.
age you or anything, but
20 plus years, 22 years or something like that.
you were working in other facilities, and then did you do a business on the side? Did you, right now you're doing natural medicine?
Yes, I'm doing Powerline Health and it's all vitamins and supplements. But what I found is that by itself wasn't fulfilling for me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I started sharing with people what they can do to help themselves that it really, really ignited my fire.
There's so much information out there. It's hard to sort through it. When do we take this? When do we buy vitamin C versus echinacea? When do we do this?
Yes.
It's so confusing, and that's where Ask Mary comes into play, huh?
Well, that's what I thought would be kind of fun to be. I don't really want to be an authority and tell people what to do. What I want to do is be a guide. In other words, I want to, in some of my newest videos, I'm going to open up browsers and show them how I do research and show them how I figure out which things look credible and which things don't, so that they can, I really want people to embrace their own health. And one of the things we're finding as we do the research, autoimmune diseases, they're caused from inflammatory foods. So all of these foods and additives right now, they're fake foods, if you want to call them that. They're so dangerous because they're not the way that God made our bodies to work. Our body doesn't know what to do with that stuff, and it really messes with us. And so I think the thing I talk about the most is just getting back to eating the basics, the simple foods, the way they came from the earth. My friend and I were just talking today, adding spices to your foods. They're loaded with nutrients.
Can you talk a little bit more about inflammatory foods or fake foods? What are examples of those?
Well, what's interesting, for example, is I'll bet you can't guess the number one inflammatory food.
I don't know.
It's sugar.
Oh, well, yes.
Do you
Yes,
know
sugar's in
sugar?
everything.
Yes. And do you know in rat studies, sugar is more addictive than cocaine?
I believe it.
Yet at the same time, if we aren't eating sugar, we want to substitute for sugar, whether it's honey or stevia or whatever. And so then they gave us aspartame and saccharin. Those are complete
Terrible.
chemicals. You'd be better off to eat the
Terrible.
sugar. Yes. And again, they're all inflammatory foods. And some people, that inflammation shows up in their digestive tract, and they're bloated and they just feel really rough all the time. So, and your stomach is a direct connection to your brain. Those hormones are all connected. If your tummy's upset, you're just going to feel raunchy. You're just not going to feel like your energetic self. It's going to affect your self-esteem, and all those depression things creep in. Inflammation can show up as high blood pressure, which seems really silly, but it can.
But everything has sugar in it.
Yeah.
But
And then there's MSG, which is a soy product that's a flavor enhancer. It's extremely inflammatory to the body.
I didn't realize that it was inflammatory. But what is, when I think of inflammatory, I think of like sore joints and
Yes. So
everything.
inflammation, of course, that's the most common place people realize is it shows up in their joints. Maybe you have lymphatic glands like above and below your joints and kind of behind your joints.
Mm-hmm.
Those will get swollen and hard. Well, then that limits the circulation to the joint, and then pretty much what happens is then you gradually will have deterioration of the joint, and then what happens next is arthritis. And when you have arthritis, that's another form of inflammation. So all the inflammatory foods you feed yourself aggravate the arthritis, and it's just snowball effect.
What are your thoughts of the keto diet?
I like keto, but again, a person really needs to listen to their own body. I've been doing some research, and if you go full keto, you will feel good when you eat keto, but if you eat any carbs, what happens? You can have some blood sugar resistance, or insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is pretty dangerous too. That's what causes type 2 diabetes. So, for example, if you were to have a type 1 diabetic that is insulin dependent, go on a keto diet, they might use less insulin, but then if they try to add any carbs back, they may gradually be developing type 2 diabetes. So, just like anything, I think moderation is better. I do think that fruits and your more high carb foods are meant to be eaten alone. If you want to have a bowl of cantaloupe or whatever, have that. Don't mix it with your high fat foods, your fats and your fruit and protein and fat and protein. I really feel like that's where the magic happens if you're looking at weight management.
So you section off and just eat one type of food at a time instead of like having a smorgasbord of a whole bunch of different things? Is that what
Yeah,
I'm
so it's like
listening
when you
to?
mix your fat and your carbs, like for example, a cookie is made of shortening and sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ice cream, sugar and cream.
Mm-hmm.
When you mix those, that's when your inflammation and your weight gain and your insulin in your body, that's when that whole balance gets thrown out of whack.
So eating an apple and peanut butter?
That's fine because you got a little bit of fat, but you're doing sweet, and you're doing natural sugars, and you're doing proteins.
I
It's
see.
pretty balanced to do that. But it's more like the hamburger and bread, the American diet, right?
Right.
Those two are they're a really lethal mix.
We're not as active, physically active as we used to be.
Oh, I think that's huge too. Yep.
And we were taught that we should eat like all the time, but isn't our bodies meant to fast? Like,
The fasting piece of the keto diet is probably where the magic happens, quite honestly, because yeah, we're not meant to eat and to graze all day. We just really aren't.
I can't say that I'm completely keto, but I have definitely implemented some of the practices and
Yes.
trying to get into more of a habit and saying, oh, well, I am not going to eat. For example, they say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I don't find that to be true.
No, I agree with you. And I really like a lot of the keto, and I follow like Dr. Berg. He's really smart on all of that. But I do feel like we still need the ancient grains and some whole grains in our life. I feel like those are have a lot of nutrients that we could miss otherwise. I do think a lot of proponents of a keto diet are definitely healthier than the sad diet.
You're growing, it's Powerline Health. That's your business.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned that you have videos.
So yeah, what I found is, and this was something wanted to touch on when you asked me what are the how a person can grow their business.
Mm-hmm.
I have figured out you got to quit worrying about likes and all of this, and just sit down and think about what motivates you. Who is your ideal customer? And you kind of build like they call it an avatar. You kind of build a personality around who you think your ideal customer is, who is a person that you would absolutely love to work with? Who would you like to, if you had a chance to go to coffee with every day, you would just look forward to that? Who would you like to go on vacation with? And then build that as a personality, and then build your business from there. So what I did, and it was, oh, I was so scared because I found that if I did a marketing email about products, I've got new products, I've got this, I've got that, oh, this is so wonderful, you should try it kind of thing, that people would unsubscribe. My own customers were unsubscribing to our emails. I quit, but then I was doing nothing. So I started sitting down in front of my computer like I was going to write an email to my best friend, or to my friend, maybe she's a mom and she homeschools, or maybe she's a grandma and she helps with the grandkids and likes to live a active lifestyle. And I just started writing to a couple of those people in my brain that I had put together. And then I sent it to my whole list. I didn't ask for a sale. I just helped them in their day. I've found I absolutely love this piece of being a guide and giving people something real to hold on to. Sometimes it was just encouragement, an emotional encouragement, because don't we all need that? What's really weird is it converted to increased sales.
That's not really weird. You know what I think? I know when I first started my business, and you hear you got to have sales. Well, of course, as a small business owner, we've got to sell what we have, sell our services, sell whatever product. But there's so much information out there, and most of the folks that I hang out with, the idea of sales is a negative thing. And
Yeah.
we don't want to be pushy on anybody, and we just want to help people. But how do we do that? But we see all these other messages out there, and we feel like we have to push onto somebody else, even though they may not want it. But what is better is to genuinely communicate and help people with open arms, and you're going to attract the people that need to receive your message. Then they will know, like, and trust you. And when they need you the most, you are available. Because
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of, instead of me feeling like I'm forcing myself on somebody, that somebody knows that, hey, I'm here. I can
Mm-hmm.
help you with my message for, free. You get to know me through my website, my blog, videos, whatever that may be. If there's a connection, then we can help each other somehow.
Yeah, that building the know, like, and trust before you ever ask for a sale is huge, huge, huge. If I had known that in the beginning, it would have shaped things so differently for me. Like, and now if somebody was brand new and they're like, okay, I'm tired of my corporate job. I want to go to work for myself. I want to start my own business.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say, just start writing something every day. And now, as you build confidence, writing what you're really about, what you really like in life, now start blogging about that, still with no intention of turning it into a business. And then, just as you start attracting people that have like-minded, you kind of put yourself out there wide and then attract just a few. Those then become your fans, right? And now it will just happen. You'll figure out what you want to sell to somebody, whether it's a course or whether it's a product. It'll just become apparent what your niche people needs are, and you want to figure out a way to help those needs be met. And it's an amazing way to build a business.
Just being genuine. It's so much easier to communicate to that one person and
Mm-hmm.
just talk. Like, I love your emails. And when you're writing your emails, you probably have I'm talking to Sally Sue. And even
Yeah.
though you don't put Sally Sue in there, it is so much easier. And that's my advice for when anyone talks or starts to write a blog post or anything like that, that
Mhm.
they have somebody in mind, that the one person, because you're going to connect to more than one. But
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
more that we're out there, out on the internet, the more we may attract folks, but at the same time, we may repel some folks. They may not believe what we believe, and
Right.
that is okay.
It's okay. That's the cool thing. You have to be okay with you're not everybody's favorite person. And you have to just be okay with that because if you're selling to everybody, that means you're going to have also those people in your groupies that you really don't enjoy spending time with. And the whole idea of doing what you're passionate about is you'll never work a day in your life, right? And so you're also it's serving two purposes. Even though you're helping others, you're doing it, I don't know, maybe you're satisfying your own habits.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like I love to buy supplements and I'm always trying out something new. And so sometimes I laugh at myself and think, well, I just did Powerline Health to pay for my own habit, right? But not
We
really. But
no, we scratch our own itch,
yeah,
and it's got to scratch somebody else, doesn't it?
yeah, right.
That's what motivates me is doing what I like and helping people. Now, you mentioned briefly that you also end up doing websites for folks.
For 10 years, I did website design and I absolutely loved it. And it was something I could do from home while my children were small. And so that's then the same time frame as when I did the part-time school nurse. So I did both and it just worked well for our family. I could be pretty flexible that way. And in my health journey, then I sold the website design company, but I had one doctor in Texas, and his name is Dr. Jerry Peterman, and I talk a lot about him because he's actually a scientist at heart, and he's really passionate about natural health and helping people formulating supplements that work synergistically so that you're hearing a lot of buzz about CBD right now, for example. The CBD by itself doesn't seem to do very much, but you add a little bit of some herbs that help with the nerves now you put it with like valerian and kava kava. Now you have something that works so much better. So he's really good at that. He also taught me how to make FDA compliant labels. So now I can look at a product. You can bring me a product because he's trained me. I can say, I wouldn't trust that, or I wouldn't put that in my body. You can do what you want, but they aren't following these guidelines. And the FDA isn't probably able to manage what goes into a product, but by having if not only are they skimping on what's going into the product, but if they're also skimping on or don't know how the FDA requires us to be compliant as far as the words on the bottle, now I've got two reasons. Now I've got my first reason to not trust them. You just have to be. It's the closest thing I know to do to protect my customers is to be wise as to what's going into the product and how it's presented.
We all need to be empowered on making the decisions for our own body.
Absolutely.
I
That's where it's at. Well, and really, your health is your wealth. I mean, you can't be a successful business person if your health is in the dump all the time, you
that
really,
Oh man, you have to have a lot of energy and stamina, don't you?
absolutely. So, hey,
Yeah.
I want to ask you,
Mhm.
what do you do if you're traveling all the time? How do you eat healthy?
Well, we have a refrigerator that's in our Jeep,
Okay.
and we have salads and fruits and
Okay.
vegetables, and we have meat, and we have fairly low carbs.
Okay.
We've kind of changed our diet, but we rarely eat out. And sometimes
Oh, wow.
if we want to quote unquote eat out, we're going to the grocery store and I'll get a packaged salad,
Yeah.
honestly.
Mhm.
And that's my eating out because you can get it's just more economical
Okay.
that
Mhm.
way.
I
And
just wondered if you find it challenging with as much travel as you do.
no, and especially if you're okay eating the same thing all the time. And we are,
Yeah.
and we move a lot more, climbing around on our Jeep and our rooftop tent, and we're just not as hungry. We used to, years ago when we would travel in a car with a cooler, we were snacking all the time on chips and sodas and stuff like that, but we don't do that anymore.
Oh, wow.
We've changed our habits of not associating sitting in the vehicle with eating chips.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to do that a little bit. I think we all need to try the best we can and just not beat ourselves up. Just understand that, hey, this bowl of ice cream will have effects later.
Hmm.
Oh, you have a choice of eating the bowl of ice cream and being okay with it or eating it and feeling guilty. Well, then don't eat it if you're going to feel terrible. So,
Well, and it's one thing to do it once a week, and it's
mhm,
another thing to do it every day, like a milkshake every time you go through the McDonald's, or you know what I mean?
mhm,
And that's, I think, where we get in trouble. And I honestly feel like eating a few things and meals out once in a while or once a week or whatever, those things actually help build our body's strength. I mean, I just don't think that they're what's destroying our health, that once a week thing. I think what's destroying our health is, like you were saying, snacking all day and
well,
then
the overabundance of food. I mean,
mm,
it is so easy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
whereas in the past, our ancestors had to really work for it.
Hmm.
It's just it's interesting, but our health, our business, our lives, it's all intertwined
Yeah.
for a happy, fulfilled life. In your business, what is your biggest challenge?
What is my biggest challenge? Staying small and personal, being able to be that person that answers the phone and helps people and be that guide for them in their life that I want to be, and yet still being able to have the time to scale my business. I think it's been one of the hardest things, spreading myself out, and figuring out where I can bring help into my business and where I need to be the one, doing certain things. It's because I don't want to be controlling, but if I'm their nurse Mary, their guide to their natural health journey, Mary needs to be there for them. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So,
I'm one of your biggest fans,
oh,
and
thank you. I appreciate it.
I
I
love
haven't
it.
figured out how to duplicate myself. And I've also felt like getting people to come to classes is really hard. And so I've tried to figure out a way to move that into the online space.
Hmm.
One of the things right now that I'm learning is called funnels. I don't know if you've heard of a sales funnel or
Oh
not.
yes, I'm
But
really into
again,
Russell Brunson.
yes, I like Russell Brunson. Again, like him,
Oh,
and
he's a
then
little
there's,
over the top for me, but I'm
well,
going
yeah,
through this stuff.
he is. But you can go back to his older stuff, like Expert Secrets. And again, it comes back to building the know, like, and trust with people before you ever think about asking for a sale. And I mean, it's just, you can do all that in maybe like a seminar type situation where, or a video where they go to, and you bring them through a couple of videos, and at the end there might be the option to purchase. But I really like the soft asks rather than the harder asks. That's just my personality.
I know and practice sales funnels, and Russell Brunson, with his .com secrets, his expert secrets, and you find your voice, and there is certain formulas or aspects, if you will, on effective persuasive writing, effective sales letters, effective webinars. When you focus on the people here and now and help them, you're going to get referrals, and you can build from there.
Mm-hmm.
The genuine communication is where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we can get out of our own way,
Yeah.
it just happens, you know.
Yeah. And there's some of us that are created to be creatives, and then there's some of us that are created to take somebody else's creation and give it life. And that I feel like finding that balance for business people, where they delegate what it's better off to be delegated. I know that for me, recently I did add someone to help me like reword my emails, and then also take that same content and turn it into social media posts and some blog posts. And I can just be creative. I don't have to worry about the nuts and bolts. I do plan the schedule, but the rest of it I've handed over, and it's really a wonderful, it's like giving your social media a new pizzazz, because it's not just the same old stuff that comes out of your own brain. You know what I mean? We talked a little bit about some Russell Brunson stuff and learning to build a funnel, but one of the other books that I've read and I've listened to, actually mostly, well, I read one of his books or audio books, listened to it, and then did some of his early on podcasts, is Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand.
I love Donald Miller. Yeah, his book,
Well, I
Story
had
Brand.
a hard time with him at first, but I went back and he had, in his podcast, there's like, I don't know if it was 6 or 8 episodes, his first season of episodes, that build on one another. And they are really solid in helping people learn their story and share their own story, and then and get other people to tell their story. And when you start just stopping and listening to people's stories, you see them bloom, so to speak. And that was really powerful for me. And by, sometimes I think I'm talking about myself, but before you know it, somebody is already identifying with what's going on with themselves. So you're not necessarily talking about yourself when you think you're talking about yourself. It's like, you just got to get those stories out there.
That's funny you say that about Donald Miller. I read his book before I actually heard him on his podcast and stuff. And yeah, I can see his some of his podcasts go on a little bit of a different tangent, but they're valuable. But everybody has their personality too that they connect with. I follow some folks that I may not necessarily like their personality, but they have something valuable to say. So I may pop in and listen to a few podcasts once in a while, or if I'm studying something, then I'll do that. And if they have a book where I don't have to listen to the voice, that may be better, So
I find myself doing a lot of driving and driving by myself. And audiobook and podcasts has been huge for me. I mean, that's when I listen to the Gayla Scrivener show.
Oh, well, thank you. What keeps you motivated? I wanted to ask you that. Being a small business owner can be hard sometimes. What keeps you motivated to keep going?
I think knowing that my fans, my ideal customers need me, keeps me going. And then when they reply, or they have, that just encourages me. When they share their stories of how they, how their business became successful, or how they went from poor health to better health, those things they just charge me up. Yeah.
Awesome. How can people find you?
So these days, the easiest way, and one that I'm building a little bit on, is just go to asknursemary.com. And that has links to my website and my blog. And then you can find me on social media. And my main business website is powerlinehealth.com. I'm not too hard to find.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being here today. I love talking about natural medicine. It interests me genuinely interests me. So had my questions answered because that was great. And I love how you're building your business and how you're evolving and how you help people. And I appreciate you being here today.
I appreciate you for those same things. You help us as small business owners to stay encouraged, and that's huge. We need that. And you do this well. And one of the things you ask if I had a little advice for the small business owner, and I think both of the authors I mentioned talk about it. If you solve a problem for people, that's where it begins. So that's how you build know, like, and trust from people. And those should be the foundation before you even decide what business you want to be.
And you know what? I think that people take for granted what's easy to you is hard for other folks.
Yeah, I didn't
And we
realize
take
that.
it for granted our talents. We take for granted that's easy for us is a huge challenge for somebody else. And we need
That's
to
huge.
start recognizing our own talents more, because all an entrepreneur is, the fundamental definition of an entrepreneur is helping solve problems.
Yep, you're so right.
Doesn't matter what it is. The creatives, we solve problems.
Hmm.
If you're creative in graphic design, somebody else does not know how to do that, but they need that. So you solve their problem. If you're an artist and paint wonderful pictures and murals and things like that, but there is a need for that. You solve a person's problem. If
Hmm.
you're a writer of fiction novels, you solve a problem of people wanting to be in a different world
Yeah.
and be entertained. So
Hmm.
every single thing, when it boils down to it, we solve people's problems.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
recognizing each one of us as an individual have our own superpower that we can help others.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks,
Awesome.
Mary. And I'm going to have links in the show notes to
Okay.
asknursemary.com and powerlinehealth.com,
Cool.
and make it easy for our listeners to pop over to the show notes and also get links to some of these books that we had mentioned and any of the other resources that we had mentioned. So thanks
Cool.
for being here.
All right. Thank you, Gayla. It's been fun.
I do hope you enjoyed today's show. What was your biggest takeaway? My biggest takeaway was the reminder that Mary shared that we should be writing to one person, and you'll resonate with many. You help many people when you strip down all that hype of trying to just sell the stuff and genuinely communicate. When you help in a genuine manner, your sales do increase. Be sure to visit Mary at asknursemary.com. And again, all the links are in the show notes. And one of the resources in particular I'd like to point you in the direction of is Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets. I was pleasantly surprised that was one of Mary's recommendations. I've read the book and I highly recommend it as well. And if you go over to the show notes, you'll see a link to Expert Secrets. You can get it off of Amazon for about $15, or you can use the link in the show notes and get it for just the cost of shipping. And that's about, I want to say, $8. And I will be totally transparent with you. The book links in the show notes are affiliate links. And if you decide to click through and purchase the book with the link provided, I do earn a commission, but it's at no additional cost to you. Now, I had chosen in my business journey to be very, very slow in implementing affiliate links within my business. The major reason has been I just don't want to participate in any affiliate program unless I have complete confidence and complete personal experience with the product or the service, and I personally believe in it. And Expert Secrets is one book that I really, truly am getting a lot out of. And if you haven't read it yet, Go out there and grab a copy of Expert Secrets and gear up for great business growth for 2020. It blends genuinely helping people and sharing your knowledge to genuinely help people with the best direct response marketing systems out there to close the sale to the right people. See, that's what you need, is closing the sale to the right people for long-term growth. Now, if you found this show helpful, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe. When you subscribe in your favorite player like iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play, you'll get a notification when the next episode is available. Now, thanks for listening, and until next time, have a fantastic week.